Somebody just called in and said, should I write during an economic downturn? And that's an economic downturn that's personal, professional, or governmental or societal. It doesn't matter. The answer is a resounding yes. Yes, I give you total, absolute, complete permission. But let me do a big story behind it. The Depression of 1898 in America was so traumatic, so immediate, so downturn, it went like that. So two books got us out of it, but I'm going to just show you one right now, and that is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And if you haven't read it, you want to read it. It is amazing. He wrote a lot of great books, and that's why I said there should be a continuity of spirit. But he said it's a certain way of thinking, and Bob Proctor has taken that forward. But you say, well, he wrote that, and Horatio Alger wrote the Horatio Alger series, where it goes from rags to riches. And what did it do? What it did is open up the mind. It opened up the spirit. It opened up the heart. It opened up the ideation of the individual. As it did that, we had three major breakthroughs come through that started industrialization. We had the Wright brothers, two brothers that figured out lift and drag so we could fly 12 feet at Kitty Hawk and maybe 20 or 30 feet, not very far. But yesterday I was on a plane flying back from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, with my wife, and we had a wonderful vacation. But you look around and it's $1 trillion worth of airports and airplanes and all that flying around the friendly sky. So two little guys that had their minds open up changed the world. Another guy that at the same time that happened was a guy named Henry Ford. Started to read this kind of stuff, and he created the Ford automobile. Originally it was going to be electric, and then he didn't know what it was going to be, and then finally he found out, the petrochemical would be a great way to compress the fuel and send it forward. So that was amazing. Simultaneously, you've got the telephone being invented that's just going to change anything. Alexander Graham Bell, ringy dingy, right? But it's all because when we change our thinking, we change our future, and the input determines the throughput, determines the output. In computer language, this is garbage in equals garbage out. You all know those lines. And what happens is that good thinkers can change not only their world and make a profit doing the books, but they can also source and serve a lot of people, because, what the president that I like one of the most is Thomas Jefferson. He said, if my candle's lit and yours is not, light yours and mine. Takes nothing from mine, but it makes the world fourfold brighter. And then if you're really going to do some good, go light somebody else's candle. Well, that's what I've done. I learned by going to the National Speaker Association that I could do co-authored books, and I did that first book and made $20,000 equivalently, sold 20,000 copies, made $200,000, equivalently $2 million in 1974 during the bad economic downturn. Okay, so let's go forward to the Depression of 1929 to 1939. The guy who wrote the fireside chats predominantly for FDR was none other than Dr. Napoleon Hill. Now, Napoleon Hill, when he was 17, met the richest man in the world, interviewed him for 3 days, and before Think and Grow Rich, we got paid $1 a year to write the speeches, the fireside chats for FDR. He did the full interview. Some of you know the book is called How I Raised My Salary, my interviews with Andrew Carnegie by my hero, Dr. Napoleon Hill. Well, it is a great book, and as you can see, I've highlighted almost everything in the book, and then I write notes and footnotes in the back. So the point is, Think and Grow Rich was one of the two books that wrote us out of the Great Depression of 29 to 39. It came out in 1937. The other book is my minister when I lived in New York, one of two, was Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, wrote Power of Positive Thinking, got people to awaken their spirit, awaken their mind, to start thinking positive, talking positive, acting positive. And that's what Dr. Napoleon Hill did with FDR. He said, bring in all the ministers, all the priests, all the rabbis into Washington. We're going to talk to them and say, only do positive sermons to get us out of the Depression. So can people talk themselves into bad economic times or into glad economic times? The term and the answer is 100% yes. Now, I've had several seers and sages in different parts of the world come up to me and said, you're going to write us out of the next one. And I go, that's not exactly what I want to do. But now I've written 7 money books, and I'm finished even another one, but that I'll tell you about in a second. But this one has been seminal to a lot of people changing their life. It's called 1 Minute Manager. No, it's not. That's the other book that was written by my friend, Dr. Ken Blanchard and Dr. Spencer Johnson. Johnson was an MD. He just passed away. The point is, we got permission to change the title to 1 Minute Millionaire, and it's the butterfly, because you cannot see caterpillar, bad times, or cocoon, which we've been in the COVID cocoon, right? The chrysalis, and see what the breakthrough is going to be. And so Bob Allen and I did this, and what we said, and we did 2 books in one. The left side tells you what to do, the left brain, the 24 things to do to become a millionaire. The right side tells you a story that's literally a true story of a woman who came to our seminar who got fired by Perry Como. She was his lead singer at 60 because she was considered old. Came to us and in 90 days went from zero to hero, went from zero to $1 million, and we just translated her story into a book. But this helped us get out of that bad times then, and now we're writing some other books that are going to get us out of the bad times into glad times again, because the choice is more. There's only one real way out, Dr. Emmett Fox teaches, and that's consciousness, the law of awareness, the law of thinking. My cliche, of course, and you've read it anywhere, every book I've written, what you think about comes about. The Bible says, as a man and woman thinketh in his or her heart, his deeper, innermost, subconscious mind, spirit world going into the God world, that's what they'll become. So you say, oh my God, I'm going to read all the bad news fit and all the crisis negative news network that has to spit forth at me. Don't do over 15 minutes of news a day, and make sure you put up your electric shield so you stifle and stop and stymie that. Input positive self-help image stuff like I did when I was bankrupt, upside down, hanging on by my fingernails. I started reading the kind of stuff I've written 318 books worth of. And if you don't like me, find somebody else that winds your clock, turns on your engine so you can go into first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and really drive your life forward. But I hope my books are source and serving you, and that's why you're watching this. But should you write now? The answer is yeah, because we are in a tragic time that we've got to turn into magic, because all tragedy has to be turned into majesty. The whole first story in the Bible of Joseph in many-colored coat, he went through the tortures of the damned. His brother put him in a pit. He was sold into slavery, ends up being maligned and betrayed by Potiphar's wife, and ends up in a slammer for, I think it was 14 years. Ends up, he had the vision when he was given the mantle by his father, the money-colored coat, that he would someday lead a nation. Well, he interprets the dreams, the constant, continuous, ever unrelenting dreams of the Egyptian Pharaoh. And he says, look, we're going to have 7 years of famine, 7 years of feast and 7 years of famine. During those 7 years of feasts, don't save 10% tithe, save a double tithe, 20%, and the whole world will have to come to you. Well, that's exactly where we are now, or should be anyhow. And each of us has to do it individually, and then governmentally, we got to do it collectively. But you and I have got to decide to turn around the economy, decide to turn around your thinking and other people's thinking. You've got great penultimate stories that are irresistibly compelling to tell now, and only you can tell them. Now, if you want to work with our publisher, MarkVictorHansenLibrary.com, we're a hybrid publisher, and we can help you. Give us your story. We'll help you communicate it in an interesting way. Perfect. But the point is, should you write during the toughest times? The answer is yes. You're going to probably have more time. There's probably going to be more available time. And rather than thinking something negative, let's think something positive. Let's see how far we can go, how optimistic we can get, how much we can, like my book, my biography, Relentless, says, how can we be relentless in the pursuit of greatness for ourselves, for our family, for our company, for our city, for our state, for our country, and for our world, right? Pretend the whole world was depending on you doing something big, something entrepreneurial, where you take a problem, fix it, make a profit with it, scale it, and then now you are vastly rich and get to be immensely philanthropic. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in wounded times, we can heal the wound, salve it, cure it, and grow. If you cut your skin, and I have here, right there, when it grows back, it's stronger where it grew back than it was before. So we're going through a time that has tested our metal, our very mettle, our very spiritual stuff inside. And I'm giving you full, absolute, complete permission to go transcend the times, transcend the negativity, transcend the upset, transcend the adversity, and turn it into your advantage, and to write through it and catapult you and your readership forward. So yes, we should write during tough times.